The streets of Atlanta glistened under the faint glow of streetlights as Sergeant Leah Harris pulled her jacket tighter against the evening chill. The smell of Southern barbecue and the hum of city life filled the air. Leah had looked forward to this evening, a rare chance to enjoy a quiet meal and momentarily escape the heavy weight of her past. At 35, Leah was a decorated veteran, her uniform adorned with medals that told the story of bravery and sacrifice. 2 tours in Afghanistan had left her with physical scars and invisible wounds, but she carried herself with dignity. Tonight, she wanted nothing more than a warm meal at a place that boasted Southern hospitality and a reputation for high-end dining. As she stepped into the Buckhead District Steakhouse, Leah felt a moment of pride. Heads turned as she entered, her uniform catching the low golden light. At first, she thought the stares were out of respect, a silent acknowledgement of her service. But soon she realized the truth was far less noble. The whispers began almost immediately. "She can't possibly afford to eat here," someone murmured. "What's she doing here? Is this a joke?" another voice scoffed. Leah felt the sting of their words, but kept her head high. She had faced mortar fire and life-or-death decisions. This, she told herself, was nothing. Still, as the hostess greeted her with a plastic smile that barely reached her eyes, Leah felt the subtle undercurrent of hostility. "We don't have any tables available tonight," the hostess said, her tone clipped and dismissive. Leah's eyes scanned the room. Half the tables were empty. Calmly, she said, "I can see there are open tables. I'd be happy to wait." The hostess's lips twitched with irritation. "I'm sorry, but we're fully booked." Before Leah could respond, the manager appeared. He was tall, sharply dressed, and oozed smugness. He gave her a cursory glance, his expression hardening. "Miss, I think you'd be more comfortable at a different restaurant, one that better suits your kind." Your kind. The word struck Leah like a blow. Her jaw tightened, but she refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Without a word, she turned on her heel and walked out into the cold night, her fists clenched. Leah's anger simmered as she drove home, the city lights blurring in her vision. She could have yelled, argued, or caused a scene, but she knew that wouldn't change anything. Instead, she channeled her energy into action. Sitting at her kitchen table that night, Leah drafted a social media post recounting her experience. She uploaded pictures she had taken discreetly at the restaurant, the empty tables, the smug manager, and her standing in uniform outside the restaurant. Her words were raw and heartfelt. "This is what it feels like to serve your country only to come home and be told you don't belong. This is what discrimination looks like in 2024. Leah tagged the restaurant's account and added a call to action. "Let's make sure this never happens to another veteran again." By morning, the post had gone viral. The internet erupted. Thousands of comments, retweets, and likes poured in within hours. Veterans from across the country shared their own stories of mistreatment. Civil rights activists and celebrities added their voices, amplifying Leah's message. Hashtags like "Nones Respect Our Veterans" and "Justice for Leah" trended nationwide. News outlets picked up the story, and soon Leah was on the evening news recounting her experience. She spoke with calm determination, her voice a rallying cry for those who had been silenced. "This isn't just about me," she said. "It's about every veteran, every person who's been told they don't belong." 2 days later, the steakhouse was surrounded by protesters. Veterans stood shoulder to shoulder with activists and community members, holding signs that read, "Respect our veterans," and "Discrimination stops here." The sight of uniformed soldiers standing in solidarity sent a powerful message. News cameras captured the scene as chants filled the air. "Justice for Leah!" they shouted, their voices echoing through the upscale district. Inside, the restaurant staff watched nervously as the once bustling dining room emptied out. Reservations were canceled, and regular patrons distanced themselves from the controversy. The restaurant's management issued a public apology, but Leah was unmoved. Words she knew were easy. She wanted action. Leah filed a lawsuit against the restaurant for racial discrimination and mistreatment of a veteran. The case garnered national attention, shining a spotlight on systemic biases and the mistreatment of service members. During the trial, Leah's testimony was unwavering. She recounted her experience not as a plea for sympathy, but as a demand for accountability. The jury was captivated by her composure and the undeniable evidence she presented. The court ruled in Leah's favor, awarding her a significant settlement, but Leah had no intention of keeping the money for herself. With the settlement funds, Leah founded HonorBound, a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting veterans who face discrimination. The foundation provided legal aid, advocacy, and resources to help service members reintegrate into civilian life with dignity. HonorBound quickly gained traction, attracting donations from across the country. Leah's story became a symbol of resilience, and her nonprofit grew into a national movement. Veterans who had once felt powerless now had a voice, thanks to Leah's courage. The downfall of the steakhouse began like a slow burn, but soon erupted into a full-blown wildfire of public outrage. For years, the restaurant had been an emblem of high society in Buckhead, hosting business executives, politicians, and celebrities under its roof. Its reputation was built on exclusivity and Southern charm, but that veneer cracked the moment Leah Harris's story hit the public. Reservations plummeted overnight. Regular patrons, many of whom were prominent figures in Atlanta's elite circles, canceled their bookings to avoid being associated with the scandal. The empty tables that Leah had pointed out in her viral post became a haunting reality for the once bustling steakhouse. Vendors supplying the restaurant began withdrawing their services, unwilling to risk their own reputations by continuing the association. A high-profile wine distributor even publicly severed ties, stating, "We stand with those who demand respect for veterans and equality for all." The financial strain began to show. Waitstaff, cooks, and hosts, many of whom had nothing to do with the incident, found their hours cut as the restaurant scrambled to stay afloat. Rumors of layoffs circulated, and morale among the employees hit rock bottom. The fall of the steakhouse wasn't just the end of a business, it was a lesson in accountability. It showed that no institution, no matter how powerful, could escape the consequences of discrimination. Leah's story became a case study in corporate ethics classes, a reminder to businesses everywhere of the importance of respect and inclusivity. For Leah, the closure was never about revenge. It was about justice. And as the lights of the new community center shone brightly in the Buckhead district, she knew she had accomplished something that would outlast any restaurant, a legacy of dignity, equality, and hope. HonorBound's impact reached far beyond Atlanta. Leah became a sought-after speaker, sharing her story at events and conferences. She used her platform to advocate for systemic change, ensuring that veterans received the respect they deserved. Leah's work also inspired policy changes at the state and federal levels, leading to stronger protections against discrimination for service members and marginalized groups. Her fight had sparked a national conversation, one that could no longer be ignored. On the anniversary of the incident, Leah stood outside the now-abandoned restaurant. The air was crisp, and the city bustled around her. In her hand was a letter from a young veteran who had been helped by HonorBound. It read, "Because of you, I found the strength to stand up for myself. Thank you for fighting for all of us." Leah's eyes welled with tears as she folded the letter and tucked it into her pocket. She looked up at the skyline, her heart filled with a quiet pride. The fight wasn't over. There was still so much work to do. But Leah Harris had proven that even in the face of humiliation, one act of courage could ignite a movement. Her story wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice, resilience, and the power of standing tall in the face of adversity. For Leah, the battle for respect and equality was the greatest mission of all, and she was just getting started. Leah Harris had once been a soldier, fighting battles on distant fields. Now, she was a warrior for justice, fighting for the dignity and respect of all people. Her journey proved that even in the face of humiliation and prejudice, there was always a way to turn pain into purpose. And as Leah walked away from the community center that night, the warm glow of its light spilling out onto the street, she carried with her the unshakable belief that one voice, one stand, and one act of courage could change the world.